Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Our SportsGrid NFL insider, Adam Caplan, is with us to go over some of the ramifications from what we saw, both positive and negative, coming out of Week 3 in the National Football League. Adam, it was, for the first time this season, I said it earlier in the show, the slate from start to finish was not as exciting as it was, I would say, in Weeks 1 and Week 2. Some teams were having a hard time scoring in a lot of these games. That's been a theme in the NFL. More unders than overs again in the NFL. And then naturally the quarterback play is, what we focus on here, and we'll do it here again on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, I know on Coast to Coast last year at this time, Scott could not believe, and we were shocked at how low the scoring was, but it usually levels out depending on injuries and quarterback play and so forth. But what you're seeing is, and this has been a big talk in the media last couple of weeks, is teams are like, you're not going to beat us deep, so we're going to play a lot of two deep safeties. Mm-hmm. So the tight ends will get involved. You saw with the Eagles yesterday with Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert was the star with 170 yards. There's some weeks that it could be crossing routes, okay, that if you can't get it deep, you got to find another way to move the football. And look, by the way, the Dolphins, I know we're going to talk about, not every deep pass is deep. When Tua, unfortunately, got hurt, but when Tua is healthy, he's not going to throw the ball 50 yards downfield. A lot of crossing routes where you run after the catch. Run after the catch right now is really big in the National Football League.
Yeah, and that's why it was so stunning to see the 49ers get beat deep so many times like they did yesterday at the end of that game. So I'm going to say something here, and you're going to call me crazy, or maybe you'll use it for a future column or something like that, or somewhere on the air. So yeah. Will Levis, okay, this is how, to me, the NFL has changed so much. Brian Callahan, by the way, is saying they're sticking with Will Levis, and probably so. So he has, if you look at the stats, 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, okay? Now, Adam, this is, to me, where the NFL has changed so significantly, because no difference between a guy like Will Levis and a guy like Brett Favre early on in his career. No difference between Will Levis and a guy like John Elway in the early part of his career. Both guys are in the Hall of Fame. By the way, Favre kept throwing picks for like 5-6 years consecutive, 20 picks, 25 picks. Yeah. But in this day and age, Adam, of scoring, and with it being so down in the NFL, you can't have this anymore in the NFL. But 20 years ago, it was like, all right, we'll just keep playing and we'll win close games, lose close games. And that's a dynamic where it's like hard to believe what Callahan is saying here, just like it was hard to believe with Dave Canales last week.
Yeah, but I would say this with Brian Callahan. You could say prior to yesterday, he had put out his frustration. There was no question when he was being interviewed by the media that he was frustrated. You could see his body language on the sidelines with the craziness of some of the picks from Levis. Not good. Now, I was with the Titans 2 days in training camp when they were hosting the Seahawks. From talking to folks there, what they want is consistency. You see Levis, who's, by the way, very gifted. You see highs where he has a great practice, and then turnovers, inconsistency, inaccuracy, by the way. Ball sails on you. You want it here, it goes there, that kind of thing. You can't have that. And they're looking for consistent football play. By the way, Mason Rudolph, who clearly bid out Malik Willis, who's now with the Packers. Malik Willis didn't do the good job that he's doing now with, obviously, Green Bay, but Mason Rudolph had a good training camp, okay? He won the number 2 job. So if this continues, and now, look, at 0-3, it's next to impossible, historically going back to 1990, to make the playoffs. They just want to play good football. Now, I want to mention one thing here. When you look at the head coach, Brian Callahan, he inherited this quarterback. Rand Carthon, the general manager, did draft Will Levis last year. So obviously he has more of a vested interest. This is a situation to watch going forward if this continues.
Yeah, I think some change probably will come. Now with the Dolphins, I don't know what they're going to do at this point. They can't block anybody at quarterback. We know, look, we assume Tua is going to come back at some point, regardless of what we're saying here. Skylar Thompson, fought last year in that playoff game, but he didn't even have a shot against Seattle here. I mean, I don't know how you can even blame him. They were constantly in his face. Seattle had a great defensive game plan coming in. I guess if you wanted to be critical of something on Seattle's side is how they didn't win 41-3, and it was 24.
Yeah, they should have way more.
Right. Yeah, they should have crushed them. Yeah. But what? I mean, the Dolphins, they'll just keep going to somebody else, I guess. But how's that going to make any difference at this point?
Yeah, now let's start with Skylar Thompson. He's got a ribs injury, okay? He's getting reevaluated today. Depending on the testing will go, that'll determine how long he'll be out if he misses time at all. He was in a lot of pain after the game. Doesn't sound good. So you saw Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle's been on 6 football teams. Okay, let's call it like it is. He's a number 3 quarterback at best. He struggled. You saw last year when the Jets brought him off the street. They've got Tyler Snoop Huntley. You might remember him from the Ravens. Who's actually, by the way, played some good football in his career. He's more of a movable quarterback, pretty mobile. He just was signed off the Ravens practice squad last week. That's it. They don't have another quarterback in the practice squad. Now, from what I understand, they haven't made any overtures to sign Mike White off of the Bills practice squad. But Mike White, no offense to Skylar Thompson, Mike White's a more talented quarterback. Skylar Thompson's probably a better fit for the West Coast offense, which they run under Mike McDaniel. It's more of a timing-based quarterback. Doesn't have the arm that White has. White's pretty talented, but his problem is he's very inconsistent. They're not in good shape. It's very obvious going forward. They're in a tough way. And you mentioned their offensive line. Chris Greer, their GM, that's one criticism I would agree with. He's yet to build a solid offensive line. There's sort of different parts. Tron Armstead, who's really gifted, has been hurt a lot. That's been a problem. Austin Jackson's a draftee of theirs. Liam Eichenberg's there. Aaron Brewer's a very undersized center, one of the smallest in the National Football League. It's just not good enough, and hence their record.
Yeah, and going to continue, I would assume, although they get Tennessee on Monday night next week, so something's got to give. All right, Sam Darnold's been great for the Vikings, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The Vikings defense, Adam, has been really good. I think, look, give all the credit to Darnold, but the Vikings have been fantastic on the defensive side of the ball as well.
Yeah, let's get started with the former Dolphins head coach, Brian Flores. Okay, he runs one of the most unorthodox defenses I've ever seen in my life. You never really know what he's going to bring each week. And that's the unpredictability that the offenses face. That's why they're so good. And another thing is they're not even that talented, but they execute really, really, really well. And Sam Darnold, by the way, has got a knee injury. He's got the testing today. But he's played lights out. He's never played this well. Give Kevin O'Connell, the head coach and the play caller, credit. He's the quarterback whisperer right now around the National Football League.
Thanks, Adam, for coming on.
You got it.